Hey folks, welcome back to Eternal Crusader. In today's episode, we explore a name that echoes through both fantasy fiction and ancient history: the Cimmerians. They came from the ruin of a world drowned, when Atlantis sank beneath the heaving oceans, and the proud towers of Valusia crumbled into the deep. A ragged band of survivors clawed their way to the blackened mainland, pale-eyed, grim, and silent. They remembered no gods, no kings, no scriptures. Their tongues grew dumb, their lore vanished in blood and frost. Yet, in their marrow smoldered the fire of Iron Man. These were the ancestors of the Cimmerians, born not in temples or palaces, but in caves and battlefields, suckled by wolves and wakened by thunder. Across generations, unnumbered, they fought tooth and nail with the savage Picts, beasts in human skin, and each war dulled their memory of golden days until they forgot they had ever been other than what they were: barbarians, sons of night and iron. From the shadowed hills of the north they gazed upon the Hyborian kingdoms not with envy, but with cold disdain, for in Cimmeria no man bowed and no man begged. Their gods were cruel and distant, Crom above all, brooding upon his mountain of grey rock and storm. He gave no signs, answered no pleas, but gifted each child at birth with one thing only: strength to endure. Their land was black, not merely in soil but in sky and soul. Mist called eternally in the valleys, and the wind keened like lost spirits. No flowers bloomed in Cimmeria, yet from that blasted soil rose men of such might that kings trembled at their names. Broad of shoulder, black-maned, grim-eyed, their swords carved legends into the flesh of empires. They knew no scrolls nor laws, yet they knew honor, stark and merciless. They sang no songs, but told of slaughters by firelight, and in their harsh tongue the word for coward and corpse were one. In time they came down from the hills like a winter storm. They shattered the shields of the Bosonians, burned the marches of Aquilonia, and spilled Vania blood like wine on snow. Through Numidia they thundered, and where they passed, cities wept and kings cursed the stars. Yet no crown tempted them, no throne held their gaze. For the Cimmerian is not a builder, but a breaker, not a dreamer, but a doer. He seeks no paradise, only battle, survival, and vengeance. Their clans knew no kings. Each man stood at his own sovereign, tested in the hunt and on the field. They wrought iron, shaped rough cloth, and lived as wolves, close to the earth, lean and sharp. Theirs was not the decadence of silk and marble, but the raw truth of blood, bone, and blade. Even their faith was grim. Crom, high on his mountain, waits in silence. To him they offer no prayers, only death in battle and the echo of a war cry before the blade drinks deep. And after death, their souls wander the mist-dressed slopes of his mountain, cold and forgotten, as all men are in the end. Yet in that chill discreet lies their might, for the Cimmerian fears no afterlife and therefore no man. Many know them from Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian stories. Grim warriors from a bleak, wind-swept land, forged by hardship and the indifferences of the gods. But beyond the pages of pulp fiction, the name Cimmerian also refers to a real group of people who once roamed the steppes of Eurasia. In Howard's fictional universe, the Cimmerians are the descendants of Atlantean survivors, a people who regressed into savagery after the cataclysm that destroyed their ancient world. Isolated and locked in generations of war with the Picts, they devolved into primitive tribes, losing all memory of their former civilization. Eventually, they emerged as the Cimmerians, tall, powerful, black-haired warriors, hardened by the bleak mountains of their homeland. But while Howard created Cimmeria as a mythic homeland, the name was not his invention. The historical Cimmerians were a very real people, though far removed from the misty hills of Hyboria. They were Iranic-speaking nomadic horsemen who emerged around the 8th century BC in the Pontic-Caspian steppe near the Black Sea. As part of a broader movement of Indo-Iranian migrations, they were among the earliest nomads to develop equestrian warfare using powerful composite bows and fast-moving cavalry to overwhelm sedentary kingdoms. Unlike the Cimmerians of fiction, these people left no written records of their own. We know of them primarily through Neo-Assyrian texts, where they are called Cimmeria, and from Greek sources, where they appear as the Cimmerioi. Archaeologically, they are linked to the Chernogorovka-Novocherkask culture, which combined local Bronze Age traditions with elements from Central Asia, including horse gear, weapons, and animal-style art. By the mid-8th century BC, the Cimmerians were forced west and south, likely by the arrival of the Scythians, another Iranic nomadic group migrating from Central Asia. Driven from their homeland near the Caspian Sea and the Caucasus, the Cimmerians swept through Anatolia and the Near East, clashing with Phrygia, Urartu, Lydia, and even Assyria. They are recorded as both fearsome raiders and hired mercenaries. But like many steppe peoples, their dominance was short-lived. By the 7th century BC, they were largely absorbed, displaced, or destroyed, either by the Scythians, who followed them, or by local powers who resisted their incursions. Well folks, thank you all once again for listening to Eternal Crusader. I hope you enjoyed our content, and if you did, please do as our favorite Cimmerian would do, crush that subscribe button, see bad YouTube content driven before you, and hear the lamentations of YouTubers who are too weak for sword and sorcery. Till next time.